Now that we've knocked down two of the three things that we're going to talk about, it's time to get into the world of professional wrestling. Okay, so a bit of a backstory. If you are new to the channel, right? Kevin Dagger here. This is my English speaking channel. I also have a channel for content in Spanish. It's called Kevin Dagger Wrestling, right? So over there, I cover topics in Spanish, wrestling news. On Mondays, I do a WWE Raw watch along, and I also do AEW Dynamite reviews as soon as the show is over. So I go live both times, at least twice a week, and then we do a couple of videos here and there talking about things that I want to talk about in wrestling, right? Okay, not only that, I am part of the number one Spanish-speaking wrestling podcast based on Apple, iTunes, or whatever that's called, and Spotify. It's called 100% Wrestling Podcast. It's 100% wrestling podcast. And the charts say, as far as Spanish speaking, we are number one, right? I was also a professional wrestler for 14 years, and I've been watching wrestling since 1983. So wrestling is a big part of who I am. So before you judge, before you start talking shit and start talking smack, I have a lot to say about this topic. All right. So, like I said, what are we going to be talking about? Well, we're going to be talking about who's better in 2026. Okay. Now, to be honest, a lot changed. A lot has changed, not only in the wrestling world, but in the world in general. So I think there's wrestling before 2020 and there's wrestling after 2020, right? Thanks to the, you know what, it kind of changed the way we had to see things and consume streaming products, just social media, television and whatnot, live sports, right? One of the few things that did not shut down during that time was wrestling, right? Thanks to the state of Florida, live events were able to continue, right? AEW has been around 6 years. I think they're gonna turn 7 this year. WWE's been around for decades, right? So right off the bat, WWE has an advantage, right? But we're not talking about decades. We're not talking about years. We're talking about 2026. I've always been a harsh critic of AEW, and I've never been a hater for it. I've never hated AEW. I've loved professional wrestling. Like I said, I did it for 14 years. 13, 14 years. But there was something about AEW that I'm like, oh my God, they have all this potential. They just keep getting in their way. And it was a lot of things. A lot of factors would get into their way. For example, the inexperience of Tony Khan running a wrestling company. Running a wrestling company is apples to oranges with any other thing. It's wrestling is such a unique beast to produce, to do. If you're a wrestler, you get one take at everything, right? Everything you have to do, you get to do it once, and that is it. It's unique. It's something that it's not for everybody, but it's ours. And people say if you're a wrestling fan, there's something wrong with you. That's debatable. I would say, we have an acquired taste, but when you do this, you're definitely from a different mold. You are totally different. So this isn't for everybody. Nowadays, it's become mainstream, and a big percentage of people watching the product are watching it for the sports entertainment element of it, not the wrestling, right? So if you're a wrestling fan like me, that I've been watching this since '83, and then I would go back and watch videos and tapes from the '60s and the '70s. Watch Dusty Rhodes, Billy Graham, Antonina Roca. From Puerto Rico, we had, in Puerto Rico, where I'm from, legend says that the hardcore wrestling was born in Puerto Rico, because you had Abdullah, you had Bruiser Brody, you had Carlito Colon, you had the Bushwhacker, los Pastores de Nueva Zelanda. I mean, that was just there was blood all over the place. So I know about this. So when we're looking at the product today, AEW had a rough start. Right. They had a rough start, but at the same time, they had this boom because they were new. They were different. They were a necessary alternative from WWE. Right. And they started off strong. They were around the 900,000 viewership almost hitting that million. They had Cody, they had the Young Bucks, which I can't freaking stand. I wish I have so much to say about the Young Bucks, but I usually say it in Spanish. And they had the Pillars, they had Kenny Omega, and they had Hangman Page, etc. Right? Cody Rhodes made AEW legit. They had Chris Jericho, it made it more legit, right? But they didn't hit that boom where they were getting that million plus viewership until CM Punk got there, right? So they had a chance to get this bigger audience, right? So they had the numbers during the first couple of years. And then we started seeing cracks in the armor. We started seeing little things. At least everybody started seeing these little things. When I started watching the matches didn't make sense. The storytelling didn't make sense. The booking didn't make sense. They just wanted to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And it got to the point where the matches were like, okay, what do you need to do to win a match in AEW? Do you need to shoot somebody? Do you need to hit them with the car? Do you need to electrocute them? Etc. So those were the things that always kind of got to me with AEW. WWE, they have their ebbs and flows, right? They have their good years and they have their bad years, but they're still around, right? AEW started their decline. I think it really did start when Cody left. And then you really saw it when CM Punk left. That's when they really got hit, and that's when people started going, okay, what's going on here? Why is this happening? Why? So then you had other people that were not certified stars having to carry the company, right? WWE kind of coasted, right? And they really did depend on Roman Reigns for a long time, right? So for a while, they weren't considered like competition, but you can see the potential in AEW. All right. So when we get to 2026, the moment Cody and Punk leave was when AEW reached their peak, and then they started to go down. The problem WWE is having is the moment they sold to TKO, it turned into a different company. For years, they've been saying that they're sports entertainment. They're not a wrestling company. But when TKO bought them out, that's when we saw like, okay, things are going to change. Things are not going to be different. So they kind of sold, I think it was the middle of 2023. When we get into 2024, let's go back. Cody comes back into the WWE, right? They start building Cody as the next babyface. We still have Roman, right? So Roman is still king, tribal chief. We acknowledge the tribal chief here on this channel. If you don't acknowledge the tribal chief, I'm sorry. We have a discussion to have. Cody wins the belt, and after he wins the belt in WrestleMania 40, from the moment he wins the belt on, it kind of starts up with the hardcore fan base. They kind of start to, we weren't digging it. And then what happens? They bring in CM Punk, right? So WWE kind of flounders, and then we have AEW. Oh, they're trying to recuperate. They have MJF, right? They make MJF champion. When they make MJF champion, they had a pretty good run. Then they go into the devil gimmick, the devil angle. Okay. So we're talking peak years here. As soon as they take the belt off of MJF and MJF takes that break, they lost it. They never regained that viewership, right? They started fluttering between the 700,000s and all that. And they have not been able to recoup a big majority of that. Okay. So those are the past, right? That's 2023, 2024 for both companies. 2025, kind of floundering. Let's get to 2026. When we're at 2026, we're seeing a shift in both companies. Viewership is down all across the board. Bunch of reasons, right? But as a fan, when you're looking at the product, I do a review for Monday Night Raw. Not only do I do the watch along on my channel, I go to the 100% Wrestling Podcast channel, and we do a live review as soon as Raw is over. When you look at the quality of the products today, this is going to piss a lot of people off. AEW has a better product today than WWE. I'll even say this. In 2025, AEW had a better product than WWE in 2025. 2025 was a year of Cena. They had John Cena carrying everything. It was a year of Cena. It was a retirement tour. They got lucky, and they were able to screw that up. That was that whole retirement tour. It was a disservice to John Cena, and I'm not a John Cena guy. When he was active, I was one of the guys chanting Cena sucks. When they came to San Antonio for the Rumble in 2017, I'm glad to say I was able to watch AJ Styles and Cena have their match and be able to chant Cena sucks. Love it. One of my favorite pay-per-views. It was a good pay-per-view. Roman's out of the picture, right? But you have Punk carrying the company with his angle with Drew. But that was it. It got to the point where this whole thing with Cena was so mishandled. Poorly. It sucked. It was horrible. It was bad. Until the second half I want to say after his match with Punk was when people got interested, because they say, you know what, forget to hell with the storytelling. Let's just go match by match, month by month, and let's see what happens. Right? But that wasn't enough. AEW from March 2025 on, I don't know what happened creatively. They're never going to admit it. I don't know if Tony Khan either took over or let go of the booking. We'll never know, because you got to be very careful with all the news that comes out of AEW, especially if dumbass Dave Meltzer is the one saying it, because I don't trust that dude. I don't trust him as far as I can throw him. He's a clown, and I can't stand him. He's full of shit. But anyway, if he says it, don't even try and take it as truth. Don't even bother. March of 2025 on, AEW showed such an improvement in their storytelling. The matches were making sense. They were making more sense. They were still video game style, but they made more sense. Even the Young Bucks, I would say last year was their best as far as in-ring work. 2025 was their best year. The storytelling and the evolution of the character of Hangman Page, one of the best evolution of characters in recent years in wrestling in general, including WWE and AEW, was one of the best handled characters of recent years. So they're getting better. The problem is they lost that trust. They lost the trust from their audience, and it's going to take them years to win that back. I can't watch a SmackDown. I don't even watch the highlights anymore. I asked my brother, hey, what happened on SmackDown? And I asked him to tell me, because I will not sit down and watch a SmackDown. I hear NXT is even worse. From what I can tell, in recent weeks, the best show WWE has is AAA. Believe it or not. AAA. Even Raw, sometimes it's so hard to watch. It's hard to watch. But I never thought I'd say I look forward to watching Dynamite every Wednesday, because they found their own formula. You know, their matches are still very innovative, but they're making sense. You're caring more for the characters. They're bringing in more new wrestlers and not depending on people from the past. I love Chris Jericho. I'm a Jerichoholic. Always been a Jerichoholic. Ever since he used to wrestle as Corazón de León in Mexico, I've been a Jerichoholic. But that last run didn't help anybody. And when Chris Jericho is motivated, when you have a motivated Chris Jericho, at his age, he can go with anybody. He can still go. But damn, that last year we saw him on TV, that whole learning tree thing, it would make people go, change the channel or look at their phones. That's when I know a show sucks. When I'm watching a wrestling show and I'm doing this, that's when I know there's a problem. I'm not getting that in the past couple of weeks. Since the second show of the year, AEW has produced banger after banger after banger after banger. Dynamite, Collision. They just did AEW Grand Slam from Australia. That was a good show. That was a damn good show. WWE, we're just begging for them to entertain us. Give us something to watch. Right now, they've got big trouble with WrestleMania. They really do. They've got big trouble. They haven't been able to sell it out because tickets are freaking expensive as shit. They went back to Vegas because they're greedy as shit. So ever since WWE has shifted the focus from their product to just making money, not that Vince didn't make money. Vince did. That's why he was a billionaire. But he had a knack for balancing out what he was going to sell and how he was going to sell it. That's why he got to where he was. That's why WWE is where it is. I'm not talking about Vince as a human being. From what we can tell, with all of the rumors and the lawsuits, Vince was a fucking freak. So I'm not talking about Vince the person. I'm talking about Vince in wrestling. It was different. It was different. At times, WWE can seem very, very soulless. I don't know if y'all feel the same, but sometimes things just happen and you don't feel it. For the casual fan, they don't care. They're just there to be entertained. But for us that have been in this for the long haul, they've lost something. I'm not saying it's Vince. I'm not even gonna fault Triple H either, because he doesn't have the power Vince had, because Vince was the boss. It was his company. He was head of booking. Everything went through Vince. Triple H, even though he's the head of creative, he still has his hands tied from the higher ups at TKO. So I don't think Triple H, I would give him 75% of the blame, maybe 80% of the blame. But that 20% that comes from TKO, that don't understand how you run a wrestling business, I think that's a big factor that people have to consider, and not just blame Triple H. That's why you have to be careful with all these content creators that love to say Triple H doesn't know what he's doing. He did blah blah. There's a huge factor. There's a huge picture here that they're not looking at. Even Unreal, when you look at those sessions, the creative brainstorming sessions from Unreal, something is off. First of all, I don't believe most of the shit that they show us on Unreal. I don't believe it. I think that's scripted too. At least most of it. They're telling you in the title it's Unreal. They want you to think this is how things are run. Because if that's how things are run, I don't know how Road Dogg has a job. I don't know how a multi-billion-dollar company would keep him on the payroll. Because if he's running SmackDown, and SmackDown is that horrible, I would have gotten rid of him long time ago. So at this moment, AEW's got the better product. And it's a shame that because of their past mistakes, and they weren't little mistakes, they were big mistakes that just pissed people off. That they've driven so many people away that they're not willing to come back and give it a chance. Because I was like that too. I was borderline gonna give up. I was gonna stop doing my channel because I'm like, I can't keep watching this crap. But then out of nowhere, little by little, I'm like, damn, this is getting better. You can actually watch Dynamite. And they've had the potential because AEW, even though they're long, their pay-per-views are very good. I just wish they were shorter. Give me 6 to 7 matches. I don't need 10 matches in a pre-show. Give me 6 to 7 and let's go. Y vámonos. What they did for Grand Slam, they did 6 matches. That's perfect. That's a good 3.5 hour show. We don't need to go 5 hours. I'm 47 years old. I don't got time for all this fucking shit. I got things to do. You know, if they would just shorten the pay-per-views, man, they've got the potential. They just need to give people a reason to come back. And if you're a WWE fan and you're disenfranchised with what you're seeing in WWE from somebody who was a hater of AEW, give them a chance. Honestly, give them a chance. It'll be worth it. Because right now, 2026, they have the best product. They do. They do. It's not even close. It's not even close. They have the best product. So I'm going to leave it there because we can talk about this all night and I'm getting fired up, but I'm going to leave it there. So let me know what you think in the comments. What do you think is a better product? Is it AEW or is it WWE? And let me know why. Let me know why it's the better product. All right. I want to thank you guys for watching, for staying here with me. If you like wrestling content in Spanish, go to my other channel, Kevin Dagger Wrestling. Remember, I'm on live on Mondays and I'm on live on Wednesdays. Watch along on Mondays and an AEW Dynamite review on Wednesdays. And I'll be bringing up more content up on this channel. I'm going to try to be here every Tuesday talking about wrestling and movies. So, guys, I want to thank you for sticking around. Give it a like. I'll see you in the next one. Hopefully, this whole YouTube thing will be fixed by next week. I'll see you guys in the next time. Peace out. Later.